Gentleman from Texas, Mr. Ratcliffe.
Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate all the witnesses being here today to talk about our national security. I want to start with you, Director Comey, and ask you about the decision-making process at the Department of Justice and the FBI regarding Secretary Clinton's private email server. You and I had the privilege to serve together at the Department of Justice, an organization whose reputation for integrity is something that I know we both care deeply about. After Attorney General Lynch and her husband met privately with Bill Clinton on a tarmac in Phoenix, she publicly acknowledged, in her words, that she may have cast a shadow over the integrity of the department and the investigation into Ms. Clinton's private email server, but then she didn't recuse herself. Now, I really can't imagine a situation, either in your prior service as the Deputy Attorney General of the United States or your current role as the FBI Director, where you would find yourself having a private 30-minute conversation with the spouse of a target or subject of a pending federal investigation a week before you made the decision or recommendation about whether or not to prosecute that person. But if you had been, is there any doubt in your mind about whether or not recusal would have been appropriate or necessary?
That's a question I can't answer. I never discussed with the Attorney General how she thought about that issue. Each recusal situation, as you know from being a U.S. attorney, is a difficult and fact-specific one, so hard for me to answer in the abstract.
Were you surprised at her meeting with the former president?
Well, I think she herself said that it was a mistake and something she wished hadn't happened, and that makes good sense to me.
So did Attorney General Lynch's failure to recuse herself factor at all into your decision about holding a separate press conference, or factor into the timing of the press conference that you held about the FBI's recommendation in the case?
It had no impact on the timing whatsoever. That was driven by the case. It did have an impact and reinforced my sense that it was very important that the American people hear from the FBI on this issue and get as much transparency as possible, because I didn't want to leave a lingering sense that it wasn't done in a professional, apolitical, honest way.
You talked a lot about precedents and the lack of a precedent in connection with the decision in this case. Are you aware of any precedent in your time at the department or at the FBI for an attorney general publicly stating that he or she would accept the recommendation of the FBI and its investigative team without any prior briefings about the evidence or a briefing on their conclusions about the evidence?
I don't know of another circumstance like this that resembles this in any way. In a variety, and I mean that in a variety of senses.
Well, here's what I don't get, Director Comey. If Attorney General Lynch was going to accept the recommendation of the FBI, a recommendation that you made on July the 5th, then why was there a need for a meeting with her on July the 6th when she announced her decision?
I think what she said was she would accept the recommendation of the FBI and the career prosecutors. And so the meeting, which I attended, was among the FBI team and the career prosecution team to lay out for her what we had found and for them to offer their legal analysis. So I think that was the embodiment of the recommendation that she then accepted.
And then she would make the decision.
Right. I think that's what she, I think that's what she said and what she did.
How long was that meeting? She said she met with you late in the afternoon.
I think it was at least 90 minutes.
90 minutes.
My meetings all seem to be long these days, so it was at least 90 minutes.
So the person who wouldn't recuse herself so that she could make the final decision about the prosecution a week after she met privately with the spouse of the subject of the investigation took 90 minutes to weigh the evidence collected by more than 100 FBI agents over a year-long investigation involving thousands of man-hours? Is that accurate?
The lawyer in me is objecting to the form of the question, but I will do my best to answer it. She got a brief, I think a pretty thorough brief on the facts and the law. As I've said to many folks, even though I know folks have strong feelings about this was not a cliffhanger from a prosecutive discretion position. My firm belief after doing this for 30 years is that no reasonable prosecutor would bring a case here. So I think she decided, and it looked to me like 90 minutes was adequate to give her the picture she needed.
In that 90 minutes, did she review the 110 emails that you outlined as being either top secret, secret, or confidential that were on Ms. Clinton's sent or received on her email server?
Yeah, I don't think it's appropriate for me to talk about the specifics of that.
I don't want to know about the content. I just want to know whether she reviewed those emails at a minimum.
Yeah, I think that would be about the content of the meeting, though. So I don't, look, I'm trying to be maximally transparent, as you can tell, in ways that are unprecedented. I don't think I should get that specific, though.
Well, I do thank you. I am grateful for your service in the past, present, and in the future, and to our nation. And with that, I'll yield back.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Payne.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I'd like to get a couple things out of the way before I start. I will say Benghazi emails and the tarmac meeting. Now to the serious business. Mr. Comey, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Rasmussen, let me just say everyone has thanked you for your service to this nation, but I think in the face of the odds that you've been up against, you have done an incredible job in your service to this nation, and I thank you. Thank all of you. I have several questions that I'd like to ask, and today is probably the last day before the House goes on